Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Jim Ron. Welcome to the Guyana Dialogue. I'm your host, Shamiza Ali. Our topic tonight is developments and challenges in the agricultural sector in Guyana. The Guyana Dialogue is being sponsored by a coordinating council of Guyanese based in the US, UK, Canada, the Caribbean, and Guyana. Funding support is by well known philanthropist Dave Narayan from Dave West Indian Imports. Please welcome my moderator for tonight, Dr. Tara Singh.
Thank you very much, Misa, and welcome to our viewers.
Welcome, Dr. Tara. Our panelists tonight are Dr. Vishnu Bisram and Dr. Sanjay Ramkisoon. Our guest tonight is the Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Zulfikar Mustapha. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Good evening. Welcome. Dr. Tara, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, since we are in our fourth year, I believe the Honorable Minister, this is you're the second person, I believe, or third to appear on the fourth year on this program.
Okay.
You have appeared at least about twice before, I think.
Yeah.
Before we start, can you please give us an update on the flood situation in Georgetown and in other areas as well?
So first of all, Doc, thanks very much, and thanks to your hosts for inviting me on this program. I know for a fact that you were trying to get me on this program for a number of times, but because of certain schedule, we were out. But first of all, let me say I'm happy to be here this evening. And as you are speaking rightly, we are in the rainy season. But what we are experiencing now is not so much any major flooding across our country, because the work what we have done over time in terms of getting all these infrastructure in place, putting new pumps, ensuring that sluices are operable, clearing of canals, and ensure that these primary canals are clear. I think that we have minimized flooding in vulnerable area considerably. For example, in Georgetown, there are certain parts in Georgetown that are very vulnerable to flooding. Places like South Georgetown, Alexander Village, Queenstown, those are low-lying areas. But what we have seen over the last few days, as a matter of fact, when the President, His Excellency the President, landed in Guyana last Tuesday evening, he called me immediately from the airport, and we were able to do a on-the-spot visit a number of areas during the course of the rain. And it showed that the system that we have implemented work very efficiently. And the areas that I just mentioned, we had minimal flooding in those areas. As a matter of fact, also the President instructed that I put additional equipment in some of the areas, because what we are doing now, we are purchasing new equipment, more equipment. Around the country, we have 217 pumps that are operable. In Georgetown alone, we have 16 of those pumps that are operable, and those pumps are also being boosted by the outfalls and the sluices. So we have a number of systems that are complemented one another. And I think that one of the major challenges for us, or one of the major challenge for us, is the local bodies. For example, the City Council in Georgetown. These internal drains, these interlocking drains are not being cleared. Garbage are piling up in these areas. So what we'll have to do now from a national level, from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority level, we'll have to also implement a system where we can see and manage those system, like clearing the interlocking drain and ensure that the water reach to the primary drainage system, so that the pumps and the sluices can drain the water out effectively. But as I'm speaking now, we have put a number of systems in place, and I think that the flooding in the country have been very, very minimal.
Do you think the flood will affect agricultural crops and even livestock?
Well, rightly, as you rightly said, that we have witnessed heavy rainfall over the last few weeks, and you know for a fact that about 3 weeks ago, we have witnessed unprecedented rainfall in the agricultural area, and we are in the midst of the harvesting period for the rice. And there might be some person who would have lost some of their crop, but then the GRDB now they are doing an assessment, and normally the government will, our GRDB through the Ministry of Agriculture, will see what help we can extend to these farmers. But also Guyana is one of the first country in the Caribbean that we have now a crop insurance with the UPL group in India, and the president would have negotiated that. And although the farmers don't have to pay any premium, they will also compensate. They will have part compensation from that insurance company. So those who would have suffered losses also will receive some compensation from that UPL insurance company. And you know that the president and the government now have we have looked at the situation in the industry, the rice industry, and because of the war in the Middle East and the cost for fertilizer and other inputs, we have now made some funds. The president announced a $3 billion funding for the rice industry, where farmers who are planting 50 acres and less will receive $15,000 per acre, and those who are planting 50 and above will receive $10,000 per acre. That will be a good boost also for the rice industry. And at the same time, we are looking to see other markets so that farmers can get better prices for their paddy. So generally, we are working around the clock to ensure that we support the industry. We support agriculture in the cash crop section. We are now providing most of the planting material free of cost. We have opened a tissue culture lab, and as we goes on in the program, I will tell you some of the plans that we have and some of the areas or some of the investment we have made over time, so that our viewers there can know what is happening in the agriculture sector. But I want to say that we have seen a massive transformation in the agriculture sector, and for a fact also the president was in both the US and Canada, and our diaspora remains an essential partner in Guyana's agricultural transformation. Guyana's diaspora support investment and help us expand market, strengthen food security, and showcase Guyanese excellence globally. And we have been working very closely, and we have seen now a lot of people coming back to do investment. A lot of our Guyanese brothers and sisters coming back to Guyana to invest, especially in the agriculture sector. So as we goes along the program, I will highlight some of the investment we have made, some of the achievement we have made, and then the future plans for the sector.
Yeah, I saw a report yesterday that your ministry has allocated about $4 million US, over $800 million for drainage and irrigation in Essequibo Coast Region 2.
Right. That's a broader area sense that what we are doing, because the investment in the agriculture sector and I just want to make this point, because sometimes people take it for granted. In 2015, when the PPP Civic came out of office, the agriculture budget was $18.5 billion. And when we got back into office in 2020, instead of increasing the allocation to the budgetary allocation to the agriculture sector, it went down to $13.5 billion. So that tells you a story, what or who have this plan in terms of developing the agriculture sector. And today, just after 5 years in government, the agriculture sector is the investment in the agriculture sector is $113.6 billion. And what you said, that is part of the allocation in terms of DNI, the drainage and irrigation system that we are planning to improve in Region 2. And also there are massive investment in terms of DNI. For example, the Hope Lake canals now that we are doing in the 3 regions in Guyana, regions 3, 5, and 6, and those are high-level canals. And as you rightly said earlier, that those are the investment we are making for the future in terms of getting the area drained properly, move the process to ensure that we open up new lands, and make the system more resilient so that farmers can have less losses whenever they grow their crop. So these are the kind of investment that we are making. And as I am speaking here this afternoon, we have seen over the years we have seen agriculture the grew by the agriculture sector would have grew a lot in terms of growth. We have seen the livestock sector over the last 5 years grew by almost 105.6% in all the areas: poultry, beef, small ruminants, chavans, mutton, pork, you name it. The fish and shrimp industry would have grew a lot. And this here is another success story. And this here I want to say that this is making investment to the benefit or for the benefit of the people of our country. The shrimp industry used to, in Region 6, would have known that in Region 6 they're doing a special shrimp called the Trump shrimp, and they used to do it in subsistence farming. In 2022, the president, both the president and vice president, we just had a discussion and I said we should help these farmers. And today, when you look at that growth, it's tremendous, remarkable. That industry grew by 1,872% from a 10,000 kilogram production to 140,000 kilogram monthly now. So you could see the growth, and those are areas that those money go directly into the communities, into the villages, and those are the things that make a difference. The other crop sector grew by 40.9% in 2025. The rice expanded for the first time when in 2024, when we produced 710,000 tons of rice. People said that that will be the largest amount. They were wrong. Last year we produced 810,000 tons for the first time since our rice production started in Guyana, since our foreparents came from various parts of the world. Rice production now, and I am hoping, I'm very optimistic that this year we will break that production also, as long as we can continue with what we are doing. So these increases, strengthen food availability, reduce import dependency, and stabilize prices. Guyana food system is more shock resistant, so to speak, than any time in the recent history. We have now producing our, and and only today I made the statement that very shortly we'll be self-sufficient in producing all our corn and soya needs in Guyana. I'm hoping by the second crop of 2026, and that will end in May of next year, 2027. I'm hoping that we can produce all our needs and also be a net exporter. So those areas that we are importing, for example, poultry needs, corn and soya needs in Guyana, we used to import approximately 40 million US dollars. We have reduced that tremendously, and eventually we will save that. We'll produce that by ourselves. We build massive infrastructure in the intermediate savannas. Silos, we now have a 20,000 ton silos in Takama, in the Borbis River area. We build wharf, we build a conveyor system, we build a number of other facilities there, and the private sector is now they are doing the planting. We have also built another facility in Kimbia. There are silos in Kimbia to do the beans project, both black eyed peas and red beans, so we can produce all our needs there. And you know that we are going also to expand. We used to do very small amount of coffee and cocoa, very, very small. We have signed an agreement with one of the most reputable firm in the world, the Rizik Group in Dominica, and they will be coming to scale into the massive cocoa production there. And they will be setting up a processing plant. And also we are working in the Pomeroon area in Region 2, Pomeroon and Region 1, places like the Wauna area and the Maruka area, to do large-scale coffee production there. So whilst we are expanding the traditional crops, the traditional area, fruits and vegetables, we have seen massive growth in those areas. Rice production, the livestock sector, the areas in the aquaculture we are now making that an industry. The fishery sector. We are also going to new crops. We are also going for the first, I just mentioned corn and soya, the high value crops, things like broccoli, cauliflower, carrot, lettuce, bell pepper. Those are things now those things are in demand in the hospitality industry and the oil and gas industry. With all these hotels being built in Guyana, you have more demands for these produce. In 2022, we imported approximately $2.6 billion in these produce. Imagine at that time, Guyana hospitality area was not expanded like how we expand today. And now the demands are higher, and we are now moving to produce that area. So in every single area, we are seeing massive increases, not only in the traditional crops but the non-traditional and new crops. And when you look at the infrastructural development, is massive. We'll have new lands being opened up. Almost 100,000 acres of land now will be opened up for new cultivation. We have farm to market road, a number of farm to market road. Over $50 billion has been allocated for the farm to market road right across the country. $81.9 billion for DNI. So all these areas that we are expanding to create infrastructure to ensure that we make Guyana agriculture sector more resilient, stronger, and also to avoid those pitfalls that we used to suffer before. We have built new pump stations across the country since 2025. We have built almost 12 new pump stations, and 9 are in construction presently. And these are high capacity pumps. And what we are also doing, we are now rehabilitating these, are expanding these outfalls and the sluices, because the amount of water that can be drained from a sluice, the sluice can drain 3 or 4 times the water that the pumps, these high capacity pumps, can pump. And then the high level canals I just mentioned in regions 3, 5, and 6, $18 billion is allocated to these projects. So all these projects, upon completion, Guyana will be a country to reckon with. We are also establishing an agri-tech, an agro-industrial complex to expand value-added production, and we have opened up almost 13 new agro-processing facilities across the country, and not only on the coastal area or around the urban areas, but we have expanded these facilities places like in the region 9, the deep south, places like Whitewater in region 1, Charity in region 2, Borealis Siparuta in region 6. I'm mentioning these places that we are now making the same facilities that are available on the coastline to our hinterland location. So all these areas that we are working with, and I want to also say that we have seen since 2025, we have brought out 3 new variety, as a matter of fact, 4 new variety of rice in the country, and we have seen the yield increase tremendously. When I became Minister of Agriculture, the yield was just 5.5 tons per hectare. Today, we have seen the yield reach 6.6 tons, and we are moving up all the time. And there was a history in this country when the former government, the AP and UFC, would have said that rice is a private business. They abandoned or they lost the Petro-Caribbean deal, one of the most lucrative deal at that time. They abandoned the farmers when they were exporting their rice to Panama. And all those issues were left when we get back into government. We had to deal with it. For example, we negotiated with the Panamanian government, and we were able to get that debt resolved. Over $2 billion the farmer would have received. Then the Petro-Caribbean one also, we some farmers was always we pay them. So those are the things that we are helping, because let me tell you what, agriculture will always be the mainstay of Guyana's economy, because the oil and gas and the natural resources sometime will come to an end. But you know that we have to now build this sector because of food security. That is why when that result came out, when they did the survey, Guyana is the only country in the world out of the 186 countries that was polled that has the ability to feed its population without any imports. And although we are seeing rising input costs, fertilizer, fuel, freights, we are subsidizing these things. Fertilizer last year, Last year, we gave a bag of fertilizer to each acre of land being planted. All the taxes and the fuel we took out, all the taxes and the fuel. Freight costs, we have reduced the freight costs, and we have taken out all any taxes and those things. So although we have seen high global or high input costs, the government is subsidizing and making funds available so that we can ensure that we work with the farmers. And although we are seeing high global stocks, um, we have seen also strong production in the country. We have seen increased production. That has helped the agriculture sector tremendously.
All right, Minister, thank you. Dr. Vishnu?
Yes, sir. The minister hit on something that I am interested in, and that is, and he started to talk about it, the significance and importance of agriculture to our economy. Historically, we have depended on agriculture, and I am so pleased that he has mentioned this, that we rely on agriculture, not just overall for the economy, but also for lowering the food cost for consumers who have been complaining. Time there is flooding, the rice, the cost of food go up. Minister, what if you could talk a little more about the significance and importance of agriculture to our economy?
Well, as I said, that agriculture will always remain the cornerstone of our economy, the bedrock of our economy, and that is why what we are doing now. Because let me tell you what. First of all, we have seen what has happened during the pandemic when food was scarce. Many countries, even the United States, you know that they had issue with importing baby formula at that time, and a number of countries that was financially stable were unable to procure food because of a scarcity of production, the downturn in production, a scarcity of food. But what we are doing in Guyana, we want to be a model for this part of the world. The 25 by 2025 plus 5 initiative that CARICOM would have developed. If that has to be successful, then Guyana has to be successful. So we are not only doing it for the country's economy and Guyana people as a whole, but we are also making a valuable contribution to the region's economy to ensure that we produce food for the region. So to reduce 25% of the food costs or the input costs in CARICOM, that is equivalent between $4 to $6 billion. So when we reduce that, you'll have import reduce by 4 to 6 billion. Now we have to find those food right here in the Caribbean. Guyana have to produce that. We are in the verge. We are now building a food hub at Yarrow Cabra and the Soosdike Linden Highway. Bloomberg Grain from United States, they have been contracted to build that food hub. We have expand land on the quarantine. We'll see approximately 35,000 acres of land being expanded, new land become available for cultivation. And right in Region 5, you'll see a number of thousands of acres, almost 50,000 acres of land new lands will become available in Region 5 when the Hope Lake Canal come into being. Same thing on the Essequibo coast. So in total, about 100,000 acres of land. And as you rightly said, we recognize as a government, we recognize that agriculture, we have to ensure that we modernize agriculture. We have to ensure that we make agriculture more resilient. And that is the way we are going. We can be using the revenue, yes, from oil and gas to modernize the sector. But at the same time, when we talk about resilience, we are not only talking about the production in this area, we have to also look at the people who are involved in agriculture. And when we look at the persons who are involved, or people in middle age, mostly the senior people in the population, people who would have been there, and the young people who would have went to the Guyana School of Agriculture, the University of Guyana, and they came out with degrees, diplomas, and certificates. They were not involved in agriculture. And as a result of that, we devised a strategy how we should get them involved and interest in agriculture. And then we form, the President acts, and we form this Agriculture Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, a company where we made young people shareholders of that company. They are now producing these high-value crops I just spoke about. We have now implemented or started agro-processing, I mentioned it. Hydroponics now, we have the largest hydroponics farm in the Caribbean right here in Guyana at Mandripo. with Victoria Green. We have now built three other hydroponics farms that are managed by young people in regions 2, 5, and 10. 20,000 plantlets. Within 6 weeks, you can get any green leafy vegetables produce coming out from that. Then I mentioned about our corn and soya needs. We are now about to satisfy that needs locally. We have started the production of onion. We did the pilot project in Region 9. Now, yesterday, 2 days ago, I went to Region 2 and launched that project in Region 2, where we will start also do cultivation of onion in Region 2. In Region 9, we'll expand production to 300 acres. And as long as we can produce 400 acres of onion here in Guyana, then we'll be self-sufficient, so that the input for onion that will automatically we will produce all that and save that foreign exchange. But at the same time, we want to also export onion. Coconut production, we have increased coconut, the acreage in coconut by 38,000 acres now. Coconut, we see coconut production increased. And these are things that we never used to put effort and emphasis on. And as I said, we have brought out 4 new varieties of paddy. We are now produce a rice called the biofortified rice, where the zinc supplement is being grown in that rice, so that is a very nutritious rice. And now we are now packaging those rice. So all these things Guyana is doing, and I agree with you, yes, and that is the government in our manifesto when we went to the election. What we are doing exactly that, what we said in the manifesto, exactly that we are doing: open up new lands, make agriculture more modern, make more investment in the agriculture sector, improve infrastructure, farm to market road, ensure that we rehabilitate canals and other infrastructure. So as long as we can do those things, then you will see agriculture now become where young people. You see, young people today, when you look at the psychology of young people, they don't want to work hard. They want modern agriculture that is more modern, and they can do it with technology. That is why now we are now implementing these technology. Drones you have large scale technology coming in the country. We have young people now more doing shade house. They can control the irrigation. They can control the sunlight. We have the hydroponics. We have all these things now we are implementing in Guyana. That is why you are seeing Guyana is moving in terms of that agriculture.
All right, thank you, Minister. Shamisa, it's time for a break.
Okay. We will take a break and we'll be right back.
Okay,
Dr. Tara, please go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Sanjay.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone.
Good
Um,
evening.
Minister, thank you very much for such a wonderful outline of the agriculture ministry. It takes great leadership to outline all those things in so many 30 minutes, giving us a bird's eye view of what's happening in Guyana. But one of the key elements I didn't hear, you didn't mention anything about sugar.
Well, I suspect that I suspect you'll raise that issue now, because sugar is important. Let me be very frank, and I want to make this statement very clear. There is some misconception in the sugar industry, or people looking at the sugar, the perception there is different. I want to say that we, the PPP civic government, will always continue to invest in sugar, like what we have been doing in all the sectors. The ultimate objective is to revitalize and ensure that Gaisuku and sugar we achieve profitability. We are working now to modernize this sector. We are now going into mechanization. If you look, last Monday, we had an outreach, or what you call it, open day at the Atachang Convention Center that was hosted by the Vice President, and a number of ministers were there. And when you look, I saw the Vice President did an interview, and he said one of the challenges we are faced with now is labor. In the sugar industry right now, because of the economy, the economy growing, and you have a number of opportunities. You are seeing that workers now have various opportunities. They might work 1, 2, or 3 days in the sugar industry, but that doesn't mean that we will scale down on sugar, because that is why we are mechanizing the sugar. We are now changing the beds. We are making it in a way where harvesters can harvest the cane, where planters can plant the cane, where the harvesters can cut the canes. All those things Gaisuku is doing. And we are hoping with that, what we are doing, that Gaisuku can turn around. You know that we open Rosal Estate. And with the mechanization that Gaisuku is doing, almost 40% of the entire Gaisuku's operation have been now mechanized. That's the planting areas in the field. And that will help Gaisuku more to reduce the costs. We are working also to rehab the factories, from 2015 to 2020. Almost all the factories, leaving out those that were closed, all the factories were neglected. As a matter of fact, the premier estate, Albion Estate, we have to change mill, we have to change roller, we have to change a number of things there, and the Rosal and the Albion Sugar Factory. And it's a continuous work. Likewise, Blairmont, Iflot, and then Rosal. These areas, because of the neglect they were faced with during 2015 to 2020, that is why the government have to continue to invest in these estates. Because let me tell you what, I was so happy that when we reopened Rosal Estate, we were on an outreach to Region 6. And we didn't have a major opening, but we went there and the president said, let's bring the workers and talk about them. And we had a small opening, but you could see back the life immediately in those communities. Those were taken away. People had to migrate from their community to different parts of the country to find employment. Today, you go into Kanji, Rosal Kanji, you see the life once again. Although we haven't deal with anything with Enmore and Skeldon, we still have workers, over 200 workers still there doing work. At Skeldon, as I mentioned just now, we are going to large scale cocoa production. And then we have some other investors coming on stream. We have lands that will develop there. So that areas there, the entire areas at Skeldon, we'll see a lot of other opportunities being made available to farmers there and workers and people in those communities. But sugar is important. We'll continue to revitalize sugar. We'll continue to work to reduce the cost of sugar, and we'll continue to ensure that we have these factories, rehab these factories, so that we can make it more function better and have more production out of sugar. Because speaking now, we have a refinery being built at Wales, where that refinery will need approximately 200 tons of sugar annually to refine. That right now in the Caribbean, that's the market that exists here. And within Belize and Guyana, we can also have those the CARICOM market, sell those sugar in the CARICOM market. So sugar future, when you look at it, yes, we'll continue to ensure that we consolidate.
Just a quick question, Minister. Is the Skeldon factory, you condemning that, or you?
Not really, but we're still looking. As you know, we have 4 factories operational now, and we have some interest. We have some interest from some private sector and international investors, and we are looking at those interests. Hopefully, we can have a good deal, and then who's know, we can have a good, because
Right.
Skeldon, the technology at Skeldon is a modern technology, it's a diffuser system technology, And I think that people who went and visited that area, they recognize it. And that is why we have some interest and we are looking at those interests now.
Okay, Dr. Sanjay, you have a follow up?
Um, you know, every time we talk about Guyana, we talk about the expansion, and I hear about the labor shortage. How is the labor shortage when it comes to the Ministry of Agriculture? Are you finding young people? I know young people like to do things with technology, but when we open up the sugar estate and we open up, like I also heard you want to do hemp cultivation. How is the labor market?
So rightly, the when you look, I generally in the country you have a challenge with what you call it labor, but then you have a number of persons also who are coming to Guyana. Like for example, the migrants we have a lot of migrants also who are falling in and taking up these employment. But generally in the agriculture sector, for example, we are now moving, as I said, make it more modern so that you have to get less, you need less labor power in terms of manual labor. So, for example, Professor, you can have a drone now. A drone can spray the rice field where two or three persons would have needed manually to spray it. You have the aircraft now. The aircraft, a lot of farmers using the aircraft to do their fertilizing, do their spraying. So all these things are now being introduced into Guyana. That is helping to reduce the dependency on manual labor, because as the economy grows, people will have more opportunities, and they will always try to migrate to those opportunities that is more lucrative and more less labor intensive. And you know for a fact that when economy grow, you'll have a lot of challenges in terms of the traditional areas that you might people will migrate and go to other areas that they feel that is more less labor intensive, and they can get less strenuous work to do.
All right, Dr. Vishnu.
Yeah, Minister, I know you went to India at least once. At least I was there and I met you there. And we do utilize some of the expertise of India in the agro sector. I was wondering, are we deepening that relationship and provide more assistance to us?
Definitely that. So you rightly said, right now, we had some specialists from India in Guyana also working alongside Guyanese managers in the sugar industry. And those things will continue. We are still looking at some of the expertise from India, not only in sugar, but in the hemp area too. You know that we will start very shortly to go into hemp production. We are looking now to build a processing plant so that we can refine these hemp in regions 6 and 10. Those areas have been earmarked to do hemp cultivation. There are a number of groups in Guyana that want to start hemp production, but we can't start hemp production without a processing plant. And we are working with international companies to see that. And as you rightly said, that is one of the areas to India is looking to help us in, not only sugar, but the hemp areas and other areas too. Over the years, we have seen a number of help coming from India.
Um, can India meet our labor shortage?
Well, we have to look. That is a matter for more discussion, right? Because that can be one of the area, but there's a lot of challenges too you have to go through. But I think yes, in the future you can look at it. But if you modernize the sector, let me be very frank with you. If you modernize the sector and you make it less labor intensive, then you can. I think you can satisfy the needs in the industry, and that is what we are doing. You understand also. So you rightly said, young people today, when they come, when they comes out of the university or the other institution, they don't want to get involved in labor-intensive work. So that is why now, when we started that company, the Agriculture Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, you have now hundreds, if not thousands, of young people who would have been clerk doing work behind a desk now are making their living from agriculture because they're specialized. They are agronomists. They have certificates and diplomas coming out from the Guyana School of Agriculture, and I think that that's the way to go. For example, the new crops that we are doing, onion production. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I went to SQ and I introduced that there, launched the program. You out of the 35 person who started or who will start the onion cultivation, you have almost 20 who are young people, right? So these new things that we are doing, the new initiative that we are doing, they are catching on, and young people are coming into the agriculture sector. If you want to preserve the sector, if you want to continue to make this sector, as I said, will always be one of the main pillars of Guyana's economy, then we have to ensure that we secure its future. And for securing the future, we have to bring in young people into agriculture. And that is a challenge not only in Guyana, but around the world. And as what we are doing in Guyana, I went to Belize last 2 weeks, a week ago. I opened they had an agri expo there and they invited me to open the expo. And when I went and I spoke what is happening in Guyana, what we are doing in Guyana, the young people in Belize were very excited. They wanted their government to start programs like that so that they could capture them and get them into the agriculture sector so that they can make their livelihood out of agriculture also.
And finally, I know every year you have an agro expo. I think one is being planned coming up very soon. You want
For
to talk about it?
September, yes, for September of this year, we will be doing our agri investment expo. But ours is a more broader one because it have not only regional participants but international participants. We having people from United States, Canada, Europe, and so coming here. So I'm hoping that this one will be a massive one also.
Sanjay?
Sanjay, Dr.
Yeah,
Sanjay.
thank you very much, dear Minister. Many farmers still say that there's, like small farmers, that there's still some financial difficulties. And especially when situations like flooding happen, the small farmers, I don't think they have insurance to help to recover the cost. Um, how is the government reaching out to these small farmers, like, quote unquote mom and pop farmers? Are they eligible for crop insurance, or there's a certain amount of acreage that one has to cultivate before they're entitled to crop insurance? How does this work?
Now, I mentioned it earlier. We have a crop insurance for the rice sector. That's the only crop insurance that we have right now in Guyana. For the other sector, the cash crop sector and the other farmers, we have been working with them very, very effectively. And when they have suffered flooding, we work with them to ensure that we see as much as possible to replace, giving them planting material, look at agrochemical, fertilizer, and work along with them, technical support and things like that. Sometimes also we give them a little compensation sometimes. But let me tell you, there will be a game changer too, because you know that with the development bank that come in and stream, farmers also will have opportunities because we want this bank to expand the agriculture sector. And one of the setbacks for farmers, you mentioned it just now, and especially rice farmers, because you all know what I'm saying here. Rice farmers, before they go to the crop, they normally take their inputs from a particular miller. So if X want to go to the crop and they don't have enough funds, they will go to Y as a miller, take all the input costs, that is chemical and fertilizer and whatever they need. And at the end, when they harvest their crop, they will have to go and take their paddy to that particular miller. So if that miller buy their paddy at a cheaper cost than the other millers, then they can't go to any other miller. So they don't have a choice. This here will be a game changer for farmers too, because farmers will have, I think they will have funding and they will go to the crop. They will not depend on anyone. They will have a choice to sell their produce. But this development bank will transform the agriculture sector. We want a lot of young people to get involved here. They will have funding. For example, let me tell you what we are doing now. With the demand in poultry needs in Guyana, although we are self-sufficient, sometimes you used to bring in some, give permission to bring in some imports from places like Brazil or Suriname. We have started a project, almost 12 of these projects now. We are doing large-scale tunnel ventilated pens. Each group, we farm these young people into group. Each group have about 40 person each. They will be producing 40,000 birds in 6 weeks with these pens, tunnel ventilated pens. And this will be a massive transformation for the poultry sector. These young people will produce almost all our needs. Sometimes we might have enough, when we expand it, we might have also to export in the Caribbean. As I'm speaking now, we are expanding the dairy sector and the beef sector. We have we have a state of the art abattoir in region number 5 at Anvawak. DDL, DDL, they have signed they have partnered with a company from Israel, LR Group, and they will be doing dairy at the Oblissa and the Linden Highway there. They will do massive dairy production there. We will be purchasing already the tender already awarded to purchase at 1,000 heifers, pregnant heifers, to boost Guyana's cattle population. So those areas that I am speaking about, we are expanding tremendously. You know that with Guyana and Barbados will supply Guyana 1,000 black belly sheep. Now we have increased that to close to about 4,000 already, and now we are doing the crossbreed with Guyana's sheep and the black belly to create a new breed there. So all those areas we are expanding in the livestock sector. In the pork industry also, you have seen massive expansion there. We are working with the Namilco. Namilco, they're one of the largest producers, right? Of pork in the United States. They have been. We are working with them to set up a plant in Guyana also. So all these areas you are seeing opportunities coming on stream, and those areas we are seeing massive expansion taking place. So in another 3 to 4 years from now, I am very, very optimistic that Guyana will be a country to reckon with in terms of agricultural production. We are moving into large. We are to move into large scale production. We are building farmers' capacity so that they can go into various crops so that we can produce in large scale. As I said, we are now building that food hub. And that food hub will be a hub to supply the Caribbean, not only Guyana. And that will be a massive transformation in Guyana's agricultural sector.
Honorable Minister, there was a milk plant at Anvawak, West Coast Berbice. Is that still operational?
That is in operation too. The Amaya milk plant. I have been talking to Amaya very regularly, and that milk plant is a model too, because Amaya is buying the milk from the local farmers in the area, so they are having a ready market for their milk there, and they have pastoral milk in the supermarkets.
There are so many other areas that we didn't touch upon because you have a very large ministry and with India.
I will try to come back shortly. I will not take too
so
long
we
next
have
time.
we have to get it back. We have 10 minutes or so because you have to leave at 8
Yes,
for
right.
that appointment. So I pass you over to Shamisa. She may have a few questions before you leave.
Yes.
Thank
But
you, Dr. Tara.
Shamisa, he has to leave at 8. He has another appointment.
I know he does.
Okay.
Minister, we will take a question from our viewers, and this one is asking what percentage of Guyana's produce are organically grown to North American and European standards?
So what we are doing, because with the culture in Guyana, and we have a lot of work to do with the farmers, we are working very hard, and we have our extension officers. They are working very hard to produce as much as possible organically. First of all, the Pesticide and Toxic Chemical Control Board already start to eliminate those chemicals that are harmful. We are having chemicals now that are very environmentally friendly. But as your viewers would have sent that question, we are working very hard to increase the produce that are grown organically. We are using the nano fertilizer too, that is very neutral. So generally, I can't give you a percentage right now, but I can tell you that we are working hard to increase what we have. And since then, like for example, these greenhouse or shade houses that I am talking about, most of these produce, especially the green leafy vegetables, are produced organically, and we are hoping that other produce also can do it. But we are working very hard with the farmers, and it's a work in progress all the time.
Very good. How important, because tonight we spoke a lot about the progress, the challenges, transformation. How important is agriculture to Guyana's long term economic future beyond oil and gas?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Guyana, the agriculture will always be a cornerstone of in Guyana economy because the oil and gas and the natural resources that we have will come to an end some point in time. But always we have to produce food. And with the expansion of Guyana's economy and the dependency of some countries, we will have to continue to expand the agriculture sector. That is why we are investing in the infrastructure for long-term development to make the agriculture sector more resilient, make it more strong against shocks, and also to ensure that the system is there that it can produce not only for a period of time, but for long-term production for the future generation. They can be what do you call it? Ensure that they have enough food to eat. And what is happening now in Guyana? Exactly that we are doing to move production, increase production, but at the same time modernize it because I mentioned just now about agro-processing facility, and we are moving now in a direction to ensure that we add value to these produce. For too long, we have been producing primary products. We want now to add value, and at the same time, as I'm speaking now, I can just tell you something. Today, I was so happy that agro processors now are exporting their produce to places like Barbados. Umami is one of the agro processors, one of the success story for us. We are now our produce are being sold in the supermarket in the Caribbean, places like Anson McCall, massive supermarkets around the Caribbean, and not only a umami and large scale agro processor, but also the small agro processors. So what I am saying, what we are doing now, never in the history we ever did that. For example, our shrimp, our Vietnamese shrimp, the prawns that we are producing at Anvawak, is being sold in the supermarket in Barbados, Guyana Coast prawns, and all the major supermarket in Guyana. So we are moving leaps and bounds, and I'm hoping that we can increase those production and expand. And that is the way we are now building the sector for long-term production to make it a sector that is resilient and strong against shocks.
Well said. It was indeed a very informative session. Thank you, Minister. I will now ask you for your closing remarks.
Well, as I said, that the sector, one of the, and let me tell you first of all, the agriculture sector, as you rightly said, will remain the bedrock of Guyana's economy. We will continue to ensure that we modernize the infrastructure. We'll continue to ensure that we increase budgetary allocation for the sector. And what we are doing, like, for example, just quickly to touch before I close, we are now registering all the farmers. We have a farmers app that farmers can go online, get an extension officers, get to see what program the ministry has, to see how they could get planting material, to even take a picture of the disease and the plant, to put it on AI and the app and get a cure, get a what you call it, get something that can help them to treat that disease. So all those things that we are modernizing the sector, the Farmers Connect app. We have a program, an instruction that all programs, all projects coming out from the Ministry of Agriculture must include 35% women and youth. So that's a policy of the government. So we want to make more land accessible to farmers. One of the main factor in increasing the cost of production, especially in the rice sector, is rental of land. People try to run race one another to rent land. So we are now trying as much as possible to increase land allocation to farmers around the country. We will continue to work with the farmers. We will continue to ensure that we modernize this sector. We'll continue to bring in, as I said, young women and young people into this sector, and we will ensure that we make this sector resilient so that we can secure the future of Guyana and make Guyana that food security nation that we want it to be. And I also want to recognize the role His Excellency the President, the passion that he has for this sector, because every single chance he has, he always call to ensure that we go on something new, we deal with something new, and we make the sector more resilient. So, in short, the agriculture sector will be the bedrock, or will continue to be the bedrock of Guyana's economy, and we are building this sector not for now but for the future. And that is why we are putting all these emphasis and allocation in this sector.
Honorable Minister, the vast amount of work, the innovation, the technological advancement, etc. I don't think one third or even a quarter of the population understand what is going on in the agriculture sector. And it's important that your PR people get this information out. So that's all I can say. But you're doing a terrific job on the ministry, and thank you very much on behalf of our panelists here, Dr. Vishnu Visram, Dr. Sanjay Ramkisoon, our host, Shamiza Ali, and our technical Asif Ali. So
Thank
we
you.
want to thank you. Continue with a great job. And Ghana is in good hands.
Thank you very much.
Well,
And,
thank you. Thank you to our entire panel. Thank you to all of our
yeah.
viewers for taking the time to be here this evening. Until next time, I am your host, Shamisa Ali, and this is the Guyana Dialogue. Good evening, everyone.
And good
Good
evening now.